Good morning, vegan adventurers. We just checked out from our apartment here in Chalten at 10 o'clock. And as I said in the previous vlogs, we are leaving Chalten today and traveling to Buenos Aires. So we have 3 hours to spare before catching a bus at 1 o'clock to El Calafate. As we had only a few hours left, we decided to do a short hike to the monument of Careless Tracker, which is just a few hundred meters outside of Chalten. So if you've been watching our vlogs from Chalten, you know that we haven't been lucky with the weather. And we haven't seen Cerro Torre at all, and we've seen Fitzroy only a few times, so it's been cloudy most of the time, and today is no exception. So just know when you come here, even for a week, you might get a cloudy weather almost every day. So after a few minutes we got to a crossroad where you can also descend to the town another way. So the rocks near Chalten are perfect for climbing, bouldering and free soloing, which I'm doing right now. So this route looked quite easy, there is lots of good holds. So when I was looking at these rocks, it was just like calling me to climb it. So at the beginning I didn't want to choose something too difficult because you don't want to be freaking out and be scared out on the rock and risking too much. You want to have a full control of your safety and start with the easier route and progress towards more difficult, which I will try when we get back to Chalten. It took us less than 20 minutes of hiking to get to this monument of Careless Tracker. And we thought it's some monument of some hiker who didn't care about society or something, but actually it's a monument for tracker who was smoking a cigarette and threw a butt in the nature, and it caught up on fire and burned down these trees. So yeah, if you're smoking, you gotta be careful because all this area is really dry here and it can catch up on fire really easily. So as I said before, even though the high mountains like Cerro Torre and Fitzroy are usually in the clouds, here in Chalten it's usually sunny weather and pretty windy. But there are also much less trees than up there in the mountains. And as we had some more time left, we decided to go more up and we got rewarded with this amazing double rainbow. Whoa! So for us it's almost time to go back, but if you keep going with this path, you can connect to the path that keeps going to Laguna Torre, where we've been hiking a few days ago, and if the weather is nice, you should be able to see Cerro Torre from there. So this rainbow was really spectacular, and I don't think I've seen much more beautiful rainbow with such a nice surroundings. So we just couldn't get enough of this rainbow, and it was a perfect finish for our amazing adventure in Patagonia. So here in the distance you can see our flat where we left all our things, and just before we go I want to climb these rocks on the right to free solo them, so hopefully I'm not gonna kill myself before we catch a bus at 1 o'clock. So here we are down at the rocks I showed you before, and I'm trying to climb it up, but it's much more difficult than the first rocks. So if I had a rope, I would be risking much more and I would get up there in like less than a minute. And because I don't have any safety rope, each step has to be really careful and 100% secure that I'm not gonna fall or slip down. And I must admit, at times it was pretty scary to take some steps. So free soloing is much more exciting than climbing with a rope, but it can be also dangerous and you can freak out, especially if you don't have much experience. And also once you start climbing up, especially some more difficult parts, it's almost impossible to get down the same way. So the only way is to get up all the way to the top. If I had an option, I would always choose climbing with a rope, and even though the route looks really easy from down, once you get up on the rock, some holds are not so good and you're gonna be surprised, so you have to know 100% that you can do it. So that's why for next time I would definitely try something like this with a rope first, before attempting to climb it without a rope. This together with the rainbow was really the best final of our adventure in Patagonia and South America I could ask for. So at this point I was pretty scared because this is more difficult part, even though it looks easy. With the rope it will be of course easy, but you gotta remember, if I take one wrong step I would fall almost 20 meters down, which would make me seriously hurt. And luckily I made it successfully to the top, and I would advise anybody who wants to try free soloing to always try really easy routes where you feel 100% secure, and if you're trying harder route, do it with the rope first and know that you have to be 100% secure and confident you can do it. And here we are already in a bus from El Chalten to Calafate, where we're gonna go to the airport and catch a plane all the way to Buenos Aires. So even though El Chalten was the best place we visited in Argentina, I would not like to live here long term, as I said in the previous videos. And it's mainly because of the cold weather and also lack of trees and lack of fresh fruits, and also more expensive accommodation. But I would definitely recommend it for a short-term visit, mainly for the free hiking routes with amazing mountain views, and also for those who want to climb. So it's 2:16 and we're just having a lunch of pasta with some marinara sauce, avocado and some vegetables. And I remember when we're going the opposite way to El Chalten, we saw Pizza and Cerro Torre, but now we don't see anything because it's all cloudy. So after about 1 hour and a half, so halfway through, the bus stops at this restaurant near the river for a 10-minute break. This is a very interesting contrast here. Here you can see the biggest lake in Argentina, Lago Argentino, and most of its water comes from the glaciers. but the surroundings, it's completely like a desert because it doesn't rain much here. So it's 3:45 when we arrived to the airport, so it took us around 2 hours 45 minutes from El Chalten to get here. And next moment we are airborne, flying over Lago Argentino, heading towards Buenos Aires. So before we came to Argentina, we didn't know much about its environment, and after we came here we realized that most of Argentina is actually steppes. They're pretty much like deserts with some grass on it, and most of it is not suitable for any agriculture. Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world with a size of around 2.7 million square kilometers. It has only around 43 million people living there, with a population density of 14.4 per square kilometer, which makes it one of the least dense populated countries in the world. And this is mostly because the land is not good for agriculture because it doesn't rain much here. And many people mistakenly believe that this land could be used for animal grazing or pastures, but this is not true. Cows need green grass grown on fertile lands that's mostly around Buenos Aires and Paraguay. And these areas are called pampas. And here we got first views of Atlantic Ocean. And we're actually talking with some Germans who said like the beef is not a problem because Argentina is such a big land. But again, most of it is not suitable for cow grazing. As I explained before, you need green grass, which is only grown on pampas, which is a little area around Buenos Aires and Paraguay. And for that you of course need to cut the trees that are naturally growing there, which is also the main problem in Brazil, where they're cutting down the rainforest. So actually the pastures and cow grazing is a 90% destruction of the rainforest. And as we're getting closer to Buenos Aires, we're starting to see some more green fields and agriculture, which unfortunately most of it is used for cow grazing or growing food for livestock, such as soybeans and corn. So when you add it up, actually 30% of all the land, not including ice fields, is used for animal agriculture. And as the sun set and the darkness came in, we started to see some view of Buenos Aires, which is actually one of the largest cities in South America. It has a population of around 3 million people, which makes it 8th largest city in South America. But I was actually surprised that Santiago de Chile was on a 6th place with a population of around 5.5 million people, which definitely didn't feel like such a big city when we were there. So we're gonna stay in Buenos Aires for 1 week, but we don't have many videos recorded from Buenos Aires. And the main reason is of course safety again. So the situation with thieves and muggings is similar to other South American cities. It's maybe better than, for example, Guayaquil or Quito in Ecuador, where we've been before. It was totally unsafe. But even here we didn't want to risk of losing iPhone or the wallet of the last days of staying in South America. So we just didn't record at all. And we even saw on YouTube some tourists on a bicycle getting mugged at the gunpoint during the bright daylight here. But the part where we've been living in Buenos Aires didn't feel quite safe, mainly because of the small streets here. So we're recording with phones in Santiago de Chile before because it felt quite safe, especially the first week. But again, in the center of Santiago, we didn't feel quite safe. But if I were to choose to visit either Santiago or Buenos Aires, I would definitely choose Santiago. The vibe of the city was much better except of the center. You had more options for hiking in nearby mountains. Whereas here in Buenos Aires you had only one park, which was nothing special. And the overall structure of Buenos Aires had like a really small, narrow streets, whereas Santiago was more open and had more greenery as well. And after we arrived to our accommodation, we ordered vegan pizza from pizzavegana.com. And to be honest, this pizza was not very good. The cheese on it was like made from like a potato puree. So we had much better vegan cheese in Ushuaia, and the crust was gluten-free, but they used so much oil on the pizza. It was also quite salty, so if I were to advise them, I would definitely cut down the oil, and instead of the rice flour crust, I would use a normal gluten crust. Because if a non-vegan would try this pizza, they would think that vegan food is disgusting. We have few more vlogs from Buenos Aires for this week that we're staying here. And after that, we're flying back to Europe, to Barcelona. Make sure you stay tuned for future videos from Europe. And as always, stay healthy
and stay adventurous.